Today, we're going to do part 2 of my Q&A, and we'll jump straight into a comment from Ziggy where he talks about card ladder. He says, thoughts on the impact of private sales only accepted by card ladder with card ladder's closeness to card porn and the sports card therapist. Now, I explained this in a video probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, depending on when you're seeing this, but I'm not sort of happy about the whole situation at all. You know, the therapist came out with his whole shill-bidding accusations, did his apology video, and dropped a bit of a bombshell about the fact that he had submitted 2 Eli Manning cards, and he used the wording of to push the prices down, and that seemed to be a bit of a slip on his part. Now, I investigated a little bit with card ladder, and they came out and said we'll remove those because of his, circumstances. And my question was always around, how does this process actually work? So for those of you that are not aware, basically card ladder and like these other market apps, use TerraPeak, use auction sales and all that sort of stuff to scrape the data and pump it into an app to give you insights. But card ladder go one step further and allow people to submit, private comps. And it just seems to be a bit grey. They do disclose, some of the steps that you need to go through in order to have a private comp accepted. And that is, evidence of, receipts and conversations and photos of the cards. And one of the things that sort of helps your case to get approval is to be, a member of good standing within the sports card hobby. But as Ziggy alludes to there, how does it actually work? Are they in a position to be the judge, jury, and executioner essentially of ticking off on these things? Are there people getting preferential treatment, all that kind of stuff? And I think all those risks are very much real. And I've spoken with Chris a little bit from Card Ladder to understand it a bit further. He's given me access. I'm currently, working on a video to do a deep dive on this because I want to understand it a bit further. My general consensus is that it's BS, right? And there's a reason why their competitors are not touching it and not doing it themselves, because it's such a hard thing to police. At the end of the day, what is to stop 2 mates getting together and, faking sales, right? If we take the whole shill bidding accusations of the sports card therapist as being genuine, how do we know that the things he submitted into the card ladder were also accurate and they weren't him trying to manipulate things? We don't, which is why card ladder removed it. But how many other things like that exist within that platform? And my general consensus is going to be, once I do this deep dive video, is to be that, they need to make a distinction, right? If they want to have this stuff in there, sure, but you need to better protect your users, right? You need to show private comps as different colors. You need to show every single private comp that every single person has listed, and you need to show that in a very transparent way. And they're not currently showing it super transparently. Yes, you can find it pretty easily, but what I'm saying is they need to have a tab in their app that has private comps that you can filter by submitter, so you can see who has done what and whether any hanky-panky is going on, right? You need to see that stuff a bit more front and center because, from my perspective, every single time I see a private comp, I'm going to think it's a fake sale. Now, do fake sales also happen on auction platforms? Sure. Private comps seem to be a lot more easier to manipulate than anything else, right? Because all you need to do is dummy a few conversations, dummy some screenshots, show transfer of funds, pretend you're card porn or be card porn, who's now a nefarious, person within this hobby, and lo and behold, you've got a private comp in, card ladder to try and push prices down or try and manipulate people at a card show, right? It's a lot easier to do that. And my perspective is, well, you as a business card ladder, are you comfortable exposing yourself and exposing your customers like that? So for the time being, they think they're doing, enough when it comes to being transparent. They've taken on some of the things I've shared with them. I'm going to share more with them because they seem open and willing to want to improve. Now, once I do share those additional things with them, let's sort of see what happens next. But me as, a consumer of that account, if I was one, I wouldn't feel super comfortable, like I said. So please share your thoughts down in the comments below on that one. But just something that seems a little bit, strange to me. Now, the next question is from Splendor's Sports Cards. He gives me a bit of a troll comment here. When are you going to invite me on again for a soccer v basketball flawless show off? I'll probably get you on before Christmas for sure. I want to try and do a video, a live stream where I get a bunch of people on actually and give people like 15 minutes to 30 minutes to come on and maybe talk about some of their best pickups for the year. So you'll definitely be one of those on there. He's going to be showing off some pretty cool flawless KD cards, which he always talks about. If you do check out my live streams and the live streams with him and Raul, but we can have that mini, flawless battle at some point in December before Christmas. So hopefully you do accept to join. Now, the next question is from Custom 18. He says, Mr. Dan the Cardman, your channel seems to have the momentum of a runaway freight train. Why are you so popular? I don't like big nerding myself or anything like that. So comments like this always, catch me off guard a little bit. I don't know if my channel is going like a freight train, to be perfectly honest with you. Growth is very slow. I think consistency is the thing that matters on YouTube. It sort of doesn't matter how good your content is. You sort of need to be consistent. And I think that's helped me a lot recently. But also, I think it's just because people like the fact that I'm genuine. You know, some people give me shit because they think I'm not genuine. They think I'm trying to chase sponsors and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, the guys that actually watch my content and consume my stuff will see that I'm very consistent with my message on things, which shows I'm not BSing when it comes to anything, right? I'm very open and honest. I'm very fair and balanced as well. I can be very critical, as you guys do see in my videos. But for the most part, I sort of let the viewer make up their own mind. I'll try and share, you know, both sides of the story. I'll give a balanced argument and present things to you guys to sort of make up your own mind, which is why I think, you know, so many guys like me, but it is what it is. I have plenty of haters too. I just think the benefit comes from being, you know, consistent and being open and honest and being transparent, I think is all that matters. And I think people can see that I'm genuine. So I do very much appreciate the kind words. I would say it's certainly not a freight train, but I'm thankful that you think it is. And again, I'm thankful for, you know, your support. Now, the next comment is from Diary of a Pro Gambler. He says, why do you think the sports card hobby attracts so many nefarious people? I have a lot of hobbies and interests, and none of them have anything near the number of bad apples that the sports card hobby seems to attract. It's insane. And I've actually talked to this before. I think the biggest problem with sports cards and trading cards in general is the barrier to entry. It is so easy to scam people in this space. And you say there that you don't see it in other hobbies. You see it happen often with, you know, comic books and video games. You actually see it happen a lot with, you know, luxury watches, which is another, you know, little hobby of mine. And I pay attention to those things quite closely. And you see that stuff happen all the time. But, you know, sports cards has a big issue, and that is the barrier to entry. It's almost non-existent, right? Anybody can jump on a Whatnot stream and scam people. Anybody can jump and create a break and scam people. Anyone can go on a Facebook group and scam people with cards and not ship them and all that kind of stuff. It's just so much easier. And the problem is these cards have become so much more expensive, yet people still fall for the same traps. They're not doing their due diligence or anything like that. So I think that's the reason why sports cards attracts nefarious people, because it's easy to rip people off, and it's sort of really easy to do it in many different ways. And I think that's the biggest problem, which then goes back to things we spoke about in the last, you know, Q&A video around businesses needing to uplift their risk appetite and all that sort of stuff to better protect us as customers, because, you know, that goes a long way to making sure that these bad apples can't succeed. It also 100% has not helped that if you look at a lot of these content creators that were sponsored and been burned, Shayway Vlogs, Sports Card Therapist, Card Porn, I'm sure there's many others that I can't think of right now. These guys were propped up by businesses that were sponsored content creators. So at the same time, the industry needs to be better to sort of weed out these kinds of people as well. They're so quick to throw money at people. These people then get elevated. They then get given a voice. People trust it because they see, well, I like PWCC. PWCC sponsored this guy. I'm going to buy from him, or I'm going to listen to him, or I'm going to buy this card from him. Next minute, this guy scams you, and you then can go ahead and blame PWCC for not doing their due diligence in the first place. So I think a lot of that stuff goes a long way as well. So it's a mix of, you know, barrier to entry and just the general hobby and the pillars of this hobby not doing enough to better protect customers. And I think that's what it is, because you sort of see this happen everywhere. It's not just sports cards. It's just amplified here because it's so damn easy to do. Now, the last comment will be for this video, I should say, NYC Life 7868. I'll help you with some content with a solid question. Will this hobby of cards and collecting come full circle and eventually go back like it was in the late 90s, where there was a limited amount of collectors and some of the top players and autos were under $100 of cards, and most hobby boxes were under $100, with most of them being around 50 a box? I don't know. And this is a sort of hard one. I think the whole, you know, fanatics coming in is a real can of worms, because like before that happened, I was sort of expecting exactly what you said to happen, right? Things to go back towards the 90s, because, you know, things boomed, as we did explain in a video, you know, a week before you're seeing this, around, you know, people buying the wrong cards, people sort of using COVID money, all that kind of thing. You know, once all that stuff disappeared, the expectation was that things would go back to normal for the most part. Yes, you've got a lot more people in the hobby, so things will maintain value to a higher level than what we saw in the past. But Fanatics, like I said, is a bit of a can of worms. I think the hobby's at a point now where it's a bit more mainstream, so I don't expect it to go and plummet like it did in the 90s. I just think the cards that matter, and there's a big debate on what cards actually matter and all that kind of stuff, but the things that collectors actually want, the things that a game use on card autos, the rare stuff, will elevate and not dip because you've got more people wanting those things. But I think a lot of the other stuff will fall by the wayside, including, you know, serial numbered cards greater than 199, right? Because there are so many of those across so many different products these days. I think if Fanatics want to sort of make sure that the hobby stays, you know, exciting and has scarce cards and rare cards and all that kind of stuff, they need to reduce the number of products, because you've got more people, yes, not everybody will get the cards they want, but at least you can sort of get people chasing and have that demand there, because it's better to have more demand than more supply. And obviously that's business 101. Obviously you want to have a good supply to make sure you're not losing out on revenue or anything like that, but you guys get what I'm trying to say here. So it's sort of a hard one. I don't think we ever see prices or, you know, cards sell for like what we did in the 90s, because I just don't think Fanatics and Tops are going to allow that to happen. But it's just an interesting one. So I'm keen to sort of hear what you have to say off the back of that, because like I said, it's just weird. The whole Fanatics dynamic is a complete can of worms, especially with what they want to do with breaking. Michael Rubin the other day was talking about how they see breaking as the biggest chunk of distribution channel now to people, and, you know, them wanting to advertise that during games and all that kind of thing. That's a very different hobby. So I don't think it's going to go back to what it was in the 90s, but I think the landscape of the hobby is going to be drastically different. I don't think it's going to be as collector focused as it has been in the past either. So I know that was a crazy ass rant from me. I do apologize, but I hope that answered your question. If not, drop it down below and I'll give you guys a follow up in the next one. But as always, thank you for watching. I really appreciate your comments as always, and stay tuned for the next Q&A video in a few days. Cheers.